Everybody speaks of journaling benefits, especially for your self-growth and mental health. But it also helps you turn your words into cash flow. Whether you are a copywriter, a business owner, or somebody in a job, with every word that you write, you get more clarity and insight around your copy, your product, your career, or your life. So in this ultimate journaling guide, I'll share with you these 3 powerful journaling strategies that changed my business and life. My name is Darius Lucas, and I'm a writer, entrepreneur, and digital nomad. And in this channel, we explore all things marketing, copywriting, and how to turn your words into cash in your bank account. Let's get started with this ultimate journaling guide. So this very first method was actually first called stream of consciousness writing or free writing. It was then later on popularized by Julia Cameron and her book The Artist's Way. It was then picked up by Tim Ferriss and other productivity gurus and celebrities who talked about this concept that Julia Cameron developed in her book, which she called the morning pages. So she encourages her reader to sit down every morning and write their morning pages, write at least 3 pages without moving their hand away from paper and unloading whatever is within them. Of course, it then becomes a very powerful tool to crystallize your thoughts, to access your creativity, to start understanding the inner workings of your mind. So now, whilst I do not claim any credit for this strategy, what I then did, I took this method, the method of free writing, and in a way that is popularized and described by Julia Cameron, and I added a bit of spice and called it growth journaling. Because what I always feel that it's very important to use this method in the way that I've just explained. You know, sit down every morning or every evening, whenever you get a minute, and just free write whatever comes. If you do not know what to write, I do not know what to write until you do know what to write. But then, once you've completed your free writing, once you've completed that chunk of writing, what you then want to do, and this is what I always do with the people that come to my workshops and that are part of my membership, I always get them to then reread what they've written, without judging, without criticizing, without trying to make sense of it, and simply asking ourselves, now, if what I've just free wrote and let out and what has just landed on paper, what if I took all of that and I actually summarized it, condensed it into just 3 words? What would those 3 words be? So a lot of the time, people would have had this whole spiel of just literally writing out about their problems and worries and shopping lists and questions that they pose themselves in this current stage of their life. And then when it comes to identifying those 3 words, they would be very significant. Somebody would write down, for example, free of anxiety or caught up in limbo. You know, that's 4 words, but you get what I mean. And those 3 words really help you get perspective on where you are at currently. And those 3 words help you get this unique insight into your own psyche. Once you've done that, again, look at the text that you've got in front of you. Look at those 3 words and then ask yourself, what if all of this was to be translated into color? What color would it be? And, you know, for some people it would be purple, for others it would be black, for others it would be dark gray, and the color in itself speaks volumes. So what color would your free writing be? And then lastly, I ask workshop participants to then look at the text, the 3 words, the color, and then ask themselves, if all of this had to be represented by a symbol, what symbol would it be? And then some people would come up with, for example, a circle. Others would come up with a cross. Others would come up with scales. And that in itself, again, hints and guides and whispers and prompts us something about the situation that we are in currently in our lives. So this is what I call growth journaling, because those 3 added steps, I really believe, help us advance our understanding of ourselves. And I think what's extraordinary about this method, about growth journaling, is that if you do it regularly enough, if you do it for a month, if you do it for a couple of months, you will then start to really understand the narrative of your life, the inner workings of your mind. You will understand your fears and your doubts, you'll understand your dreams, you'll understand certain issues and questions that are arising in your life, and more often than not, there will be answers that will also arise. If you're finding value in this video, click like, click subscribe, because every like and every subscriber matters. So let's continue with strategy number 2, unpack it. So this is the strategy that I absolutely love using in conjunction to growth journaling strategy. And this is where you go over what you've written in your growth journaling strategy, in that first step, in the text where you've unloaded all your thoughts, all your thinking patterns, your worries, your doubts, your anxieties, your dreams. And you then go over with a pencil, well, this is an eye pencil, but you go over what you've written and you underline the statements or the words or parts of sentences that you feel are the most emotionally charged. And what do I mean by that? For example, your journal entry contains a lot of, your shopping list and your to-do list, and you come across one sentence which, for example, says, "I really fear losing my partner." And you underline that sentence. So this is your emotionally charged sentence. You then look at that sentence or that part of the sentence, that wording, that phrase, and then you unpack it. How do you unpack it? You look at that phrase and then you write for at least a couple of minutes about that phrase, that sentence, and you try to unpack it. You try to ask yourself, what does that mean to me? Why did I write, "I fear losing my partner"? What is behind it? And you start writing through it, and write at least for a couple of minutes, but you might end up writing for 10 or even 20 minutes, because you're really allowing yourself to dive deep. You're allowing yourself to ask questions. So this is the unpacking method. And this is a particularly brilliant technique when you're going through something challenging or difficult, or when you are facing a certain situation where it seems there is no way out, or you might be in a super happy place, but you're trying to understand it, what it means in the bigger picture, in the bigger context of your life. So this is a particularly good technique when you want to go deeper, when you want to ask yourself questions. A lot of the times I saw workshop participants, unpack a phrase, for example, "I hate my job," or "I am not a good mother." And this will usually open up certain parts of our memory and our mind that we do not usually get access to on day-to-day basis. But the value of doing that is absolutely paramount. By doing this work, this is how you start to reduce stress, how you start to reduce anxiety. This is how you start to improve your relationships. This is how you end up going out into the world slightly differently. And this is where we get to strategy number 3, pose a question. So this strategy is very instrumental whenever you're seeking clarity in your life. And the way you start this exercise is absolutely simple. Think of a question, a problem, an issue that you might have, and pose it as a question in your notebook. For example, you might ask yourself, do I quit my job? Right? You write down the question, do I quit my job? Now, what happens a lot of the time, you'll want to answer the question. You want to get the answer right there immediately, because that's what we're used to in our instant culture. We want the answer now. Do I or do I not? But this exercise is slightly different. Once you've written down the question, once you pose the question for yourself, start writing about it. Start free writing about it. So that's your prompt. That's your cue to start writing. But you're not aiming to answer the question. I know it sounds weird, but what you're doing, you are just simply writing out your thoughts around this question. You are commenting on this question. You are writing out details that come up for you when you read this question. You do not censor yourself. You do not use any particular sort of grammatical structure. You're just allowing yourself to be writing whatever comes. And this can come in sporadic words or coherent descriptions. It doesn't quite matter, but you want to be writing around this question without trying to answer this question. And you do it for several days. You keep coming back to the same question and writing about it. So this strategy is inspired by my samurai training in Japan with my Zen master. And there was one metaphor, or practical advice rather, that he gave me. I was holding a sword and I was fixating at the tip of the sword, because that's naturally, when you start training, that's what you do. You're looking at the tip of the sword and you anticipate the attack. And then he said, you can't just focus at the tip of a sword. You have to have the peripheral vision. You have to be able to see what's in front of you fully, and you have to be able to sense what's behind you. Now, if you focus at the tip of the sword, you are preoccupied with the tip of the sword. You can't see your enemy, you can't sense what's behind you, and all that you do, you are consumed by the tip of the sword. So now he was training me to open up my vision, my seeing, and to be able to encompass what's in front of me and behind me 360 degrees. This is very similar, I think, in life with problems and issues that we might face. So if we are preoccupied with the question, should I quit my job? Or should I leave this partnership? Or should I leave this relationship? Or should I start this business? We get so consumed by that question, by that problem, that there is nothing else. So now what this exercise does, it helps you to stay with the unknown, to stay with the presence of this question without being determined to answer this question. And I know it sounds contradictory, and I know it sounds a bit like woo-woo, because you're probably saying, I want my answer. But this is the point, that we are going to get to the answer without pushing ourselves to get to the answer. We're going to give the question some space, and we're going to give the question some expansion space. And you can see how your anxiety is then immediately reduced, because you're not saying, I need to answer this question right now. I need to know whether I'm quitting my job. I need to know if my health is okay. I need to... No, you are meeting life where it is, in the unknown, and you're writing about it. So I always say, pose a question, write through it for 3 to 10 minutes, come back to it the next day, come back to it 5 days later, and keep this practice going. And you'll see that sooner or later, within your writing, the answer will appear. So this is the magic of journaling. And I've been journaling and using writing as a tool for the past 15 years. And I use journaling to shape my businesses, to shape my relationships, to enable myself to travel around the world and do all sorts of creative and inspirational things in my life. So if you want to learn how to use journaling as a tool, check out links below for my various workshops. And for now, I will see you soon in the next video.